It is no exaggeration to say that the Super Nintendo has a staggering amount of incredible RPGs, with developers seeming to work around the clock to pump out classic after classic, with studios such as Natsume, Enix, and of course Squaresoft creating games that would honestly shape our lives going forward, and still have us clamoring to the internet to talk about all these games decades later. And one of these games that has never received as much love and respect as titles such as Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, or Final Fantasy III is Squaresoft's 1995 release, Secret of Evermore. So today, let's go over my thoughts on this really weird, hidden gem of an RPG, and see if this is something that maybe you should check out yourself. Being developed by the North American branch of Square, this project was pitched as a boy traveling through a mysterious world with strong references to cheesy American action and horror movies, in an attempt to appeal to a wider Western audience. And if you live in Japan or grew up there, you may be sitting there saying to yourself, "Gabe, you're crazy. This is a Squaresoft game, and I've never even heard of it." And I would say, hey, first of all, don't call me crazy. You're the one talking to yourself. And second, this game was actually never released in Japan, which I admit is pretty wild, it being a Square game and all. And even though the title and the gameplay, as we'll see later on, strongly resembles Secret of Mana, this game has absolutely no relation with the Mana series whatsoever. Your adventure begins after a brief flashback in your hometown aptly named Podunk, USA. And hey, living in Kentucky, we definitely have some podunks around here, so no judging. And this is where a scientific experiment has gone awry in a mansion on the outskirts of town. And then 30 years later, as you and your dog are leaving a movie theater, your dog of course gives chase to a cat, leading you into a derelict mansion. Soon after, you stumble into an interdimensional portal, transporting you to a world called Prehistoria. And this world models the prehistoric age, complete with dinosaurs and all that other weird shit. This is the first of 4 different worlds that you'll encounter throughout the story, all representing different periods of time, including Antiqua, Gothica, and Omnitopia. The gameplay is pretty much taken directly from Secret of Mana, which in my opinion is not a bad thing at all, even though the action can be a bit clunky from time to time, a characteristic of action RPGs of that time. Overall, the fighting mechanics are very effective, with responsive controls, especially when fighting against multiple enemies. You are given a stamina meter that will deplete after every attack, or while sprinting. But this meter quickly fills back up to 100% as to not leave you out of the battle for too long. The stamina meter will also act as a charge meter with a holding down the action button, as you are able to level up each of your weapons with consistent use in conjunction with the leveling up of your character. This will then allow you to unleash increasingly powerful attacks if you just have the patience to allow that potato to bake. You of course also gain access to offensive and defensive magical abilities, yet in Evermore, these abilities are referred to as alchemy. And instead of using magic points, you'll discover or purchase ingredients, such as clay and water, in order to use these abilities. And much like the abilities themselves, the ingredients for these recipes will become more and more complex as you progress through the different time periods. And yep, as you can see, you'll also have a dog alongside you. This little pupper acts as a support character able to attack and defend, as well as sniff out items such as currency, healing items, and alchemy ingredients. And what's also really cool is that you can switch between controlling your main character or the dog at any point. Your dog will also change in appearance throughout each world that you enter. You'll also gain access to a wide array of weapons, all unique with their pros and cons, and each with the ability to level up in strength. Starting with a simple femur bone that acts as a club, to axes, spears, swords, and yes, even a bazooka that you'll find in the futuristic world of Omnitopia. And armor can be found throughout your playthrough, but it's most readily available in shops with use of the currency that you'll find throughout the game. The money is also dictated, of course, by the era that you're in, ranging from talons in Prehistoria to gold coins and credits. This, of course, can also be used to purchase a variety of healing items, alchemy ingredients, and the occasional room at the multiple inns scattered around the various worlds. And while the graphics and choice of color palettes were generally really bright and cheerful throughout Secret of Mana, in Evermore, the graphics are of course similar, but with the use of darker colors and seemingly more detail in the world design. With different environments ranging from primordial insect-infested swamps and jungles, to pirate-riddled beaches, coliseums, deserts, castles, and space stations. And I just really do love how every time period that you enter truly has its own personality and style. With Secret of Evermore in general being filled with personality, not ever taking itself too seriously, with your character comparing every dangerous situation they gets himself into with some awful B-movie that he's sure to have seen at the Podunk Megaplex, to the many NPCs that you meet discussing random events and at times commenting on just how ridiculous this whole premise is. The humor with its self-aware, tongue-in-cheek style reminds me a lot of Earthbound, while admittedly not as off-the-wall batshit crazy by any means or endearing, but hey, Earthbound truly is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. The music is an absolute standout as well, with composer Jeremy Soule creating a very relaxed, ambient, lo-fi soundtrack that fits absolutely perfectly with the game's visuals and storylines. This was also Jeremy's first soundtrack that he ever worked on, similar to Yasunori Mitsuda, who was also working on his first soundtrack, the music for Chrono Trigger, around the same time frame. Now, of course, no one can compare with Mitsuda in my opinion, but Jeremy created a beautiful ambient score that is a true standout. He later on went to compose many other soundtracks, including Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and a soundtrack for a really unheard of, you would say, indie RPG. Let me get my notes, hold on one second. It's a Skyrim. This is off, by the way. There's nothing on here. All in all, if you are a fan of action RPGs, especially those of the 16-bit era, Secret of Evermore is a must-play. Even for people like myself, who are fans of the quirky, retro-inspired indie RPGs, this game fits that handcrafted indie vibe very well. But what do you guys think? Is this a game that you played before, and if so, what are your thoughts on it? Or is this something you never even heard of before? Let me know in the comments below. Go ahead and do a charged attack on that like and subscribe button. But as always, guys, most importantly, have yourself a great day, and I will see you on the next video.